Hello everyone, welcome to our GrowthFit interview series. My name is Ashwin. As you know, I'm the co-founder and CEO of CustomFit. So today, let's welcome our guest Utkarsh. Utkarsh heads, growth and product growth at a company called Airmeet, um, and also he is one of the, he also runs his own podcast show. Let's hear from Utkarsh, a quick intro about him. And also we want to know that how he started into this marketing journey, how he shaped up his career okay, till this point.
All right, thanks for inviting me, Ashwin. My name is Utkarsh Rai, and I started my journey. It's kind of a stereotypical journey if you talk about in the Indian graduate, space. Like people graduate as engineers and then decide what to do next. So I'm kind of was there in terms of I finished my graduation in 2014 and then realized that what's next. So at that time, so I was in Gurgaon at that time. So there was a lot of startups we were sprouting out during that time, and I happened to encounter one. I started working as an intern in this organization called Metal,
Mhm.
which was a talent assessment company. And because it was a very lean team, I got the opportunity to start in the product team, spend some 2 months there as an intern, and then soon enough, because what you know about startups and lean team is that you get a lot of responsibility.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
I started getting a lot of responsibility in the team. I ventured into different teams. So, though I started in the product team, they did not had an opening there. So I started with the operations team, and I was there for like a couple of months in the operations team, understanding the business, how we're generating revenue, how to service customers, and all of those things. And then after some time, there was another project in analytics. So my co-founder, Tanmay, decided that because this is a new guy and who's keen to handle a lot of responsibility, let's move it to a different function. And then
Okay.
I tried some bit of analytics, and then again there was a requirement in the product team, so we started building a new product called the standardized assessments. We're kind of
Mhm.
benchmarking it on American standards of assessments and all of those things. So that was like my experience of working closely with the product team. And after
Got
doing
it.
a lot of stints in different teams, I kind of thought that I've been someone who's been pushed around into different teams where I don't have like one place to start or maybe spend time in terms of scaling my career from. And
Mhm.
that was the time when our founder Tanmay suggested that why don't you give a career assessment test, which was created by the metals team, which we used to
Okay.
give it to other people to find where their personality lies in terms of
Mhm.
as a part of the career. So I gave that test, and there were like three options for me. First option was that I can be a good lawyer. And now, if I talk about my family, like everybody's a lawyer in my family. So my
Oh, is it?
parents,
Okay.
yeah, is a practicing judge, and my father is a practicing lawyer in the Supreme Court. My sister is a lawyer. So
Oh.
that was one thing I did not want it to do. Right. So I
Oh,
just like
yes. Yeah.
crossed the first option. Second
Okay.
option was I can be a psychologist. So there I realized that even though I had a lot of curiosity around that subject, I did not had any formal education. So I thought that it would
Uh,
be a tough time for me to scale from wherever I started as an engineer to becoming a psychologist or like doing certain things about it. And next was marketing, and that was
uh,
I think one place I thought that which I haven't tried yet in my career, and it has a flavor of psychology if you think it in a way that it
Correct.
has like a great understanding of knowing that how visitors or your customers or people behave, and how you can basically understand those things and then use it in terms of selling or building value for these people. So that's how I got into marketing. And since
Man, this
yeah.
is the whole journey is so such transformational, right? Like basically from where you started and okay, how you know how it went and how it developed itself. That's great to hear. Good,
Yeah.
good. And tell me, Utkarsh, like can you just we would like to understand a bit about your current company and what kind of the marketing philosophy you follow to keep the spirit up.
All right. So I'm currently working at Airmeet. I'm the lead product marketer there. So Airmeet is an events platform for hosting virtual and hybrid events. Uh, if I talk about our philosophy, it's usually, whatever we try to do, it has a flavor of being young and some bit of maturity in terms of, how we are trying to do things, be it problem solving, be it, uh, building host of, use cases around helping, say, education industry to do their career fest, helping SaaS companies to launch products through events, and like multiple different use cases. So, being young and mature is something which we follow in pretty much everything we do, not just marketing. Like if you see our product design, you'll see that on one side it's a dark themed like designing and everything, and in the nudges and everything you'll see that there is some element of a mascot coming in and trying to humorize with you. So that's a philosophy we follow, and even the marketing space, how we kind of write our campaigns or the tonality of our business is follows that as a theme.
Yeah, basically I follow, like basically I'm following Airmeet since some time. Okay, congratulations on the super success what you guys initially, started getting, right? And also I liked the entire theme thing. Like basically I've been into this video industry for almost 9 years thing, right? So I worked for like even myself, okay, was part of Blue Jeans as a founding team member, right? The one thing I liked about the Airmeet is the simplicity to use it out. And I should definitely give credit to your UX team. The way they formulated the entire, the virtual session and all, it's really great. Like it's something very cool and self-intuitive. And also actually I receive the regular emails with your name, the marketing emails. So sometimes actually I forward it to my team that, okay, why can't we use these kind of the technique? Okay, see how they formulated this email thing. What's the follow-up formula over there? Okay, your newsletters and all. That's really great, Utkarsh. Like, because I closely follow you, that's where, we are also trying to get some of the learnings from all that and we are applying to our own marketing efforts there.
Yeah, I mean, one thing which we have recently started doing is like to have a very young kind of a, writing style. And we're talking in narratives now. Like instead
Uh-huh.
of, being out there in terms of telling about what Airmeet is all about, how you should host
Hmm.
events and all that, we're trying to build stories around each of these things, and so that people understand and compare through in terms of their own experiences, right? And when you kind of have that narration in place, talking about how it can benefit their life, how it can enhances things which they're already doing on, and how does if it feeds into their aspirations, right? Like if they
Hmm.
see themselves becoming from a community manager to somebody who's like hosting the entire sphere of all the leads and everything for whatever objective they have, how they kind of see themselves taking that ladder while using Airmeet as a vehicle, Airmeet as a tool, right?
Hmm.
So we don't want to be the sword or or like the I mean the light. We want to be companions for them.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Right. So since actually we got that point, right? Can you tell me how to make a custom, basically how to make the customer interactions more engaging? Like what is that one important technology or tool that is must to have in your tech stack?
Yeah, if I talk about, I mean, making things engaging, I think you need to first start with doing a lot of research about who you're talking to, right? Like it's easier for you and I to talk about the the video space, the meetings, the event space, because we have something as a commonality amongst
Hmm,
each other,
hmm,
right?
hmm.
Similarly, if I know that you're also a football fan, and then we follow the same club or something like that, we have more things and engaging things which we'll be talking about. So having doing certain amount of research into what are the things you like, what are the things you maybe you and I can be friends on maybe hating the same person, or you and I can be friends for being fretting about the same mindset or psychology, or could be anything, right? Like there are multiple ways of building a connection. So I think you
Correct,
need to
correct.
spend some time in terms of doing that. So any platform or tool which helps you do that, like if I talk about lead enrichment, uh, Clearbit, built with Bombora. These are like few platforms which
Hmm,
helps
hmm.
you enrich leads, right?
Correct, correct.
And with that, you kind of have some level of understanding in terms of what are they liking, disliking, which industry they operate in, and all of that. And then
Hmm,
there,
hmm.
you have some understanding of their challenges and pain points. Like that is enough for you to then start and like get a hook out of the marketing messaging or everything you want. So once you get that right, you got the research right with these people. Things like everything else is just execution in that space. So like you can build theme ideas from that. Then you can start using that in your social media strategy because you know what kind of people you want to attract, right? And then stories will start to build from there.
Got it, got it. No, that
So
makes a lot of
honestly,
sense.
I'm not a fan of using a lot of tools because
Uh,
like I don't think that marketing is all about being a master of multiple tools. It should be around having an understanding and a framework to think. So
correct,
marketing is
correct,
not
correct.
knowing a lot of tools and what they can do. Definitely, tools are something which helps you in executing things, but it's more about how you can think or how you think about solving a problem.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Right now, if like let's talk about the techniques in sense like what techniques do you use to know, like for example, what features are most liked or disliked by your customers? How do you study the customer's pulse?
Yeah, so as I talked about researching about the customer, we also spend a lot of time in terms of understanding usage. So if I'm
Uh-huh.
me as a product marketer, my if I talk about my challenges or KRAs, it's first about launching products, then building awareness and adoption around the products which we have launched, and then see what kind of a revenue impact or engagement we can drive through these things which recently launched, right? So few things which tells me or gives me an insight into what's happening at a customer's end is their usage metric. Then what industry or what sphere they come from. So what are going to be their pain points? What are the things they will be looking to solve, right? Then I would look into what their peers are doing. So if
Hmm.
I'm talking to you and you are say a moderately engaged customer, and then there's another customer who comes from your space from the same space as you, and that's a highly engaged customer. I would try to get in insights from the highly engaged customers in terms of what they're doing and happening, and then try to create a FOMO for this user to see that this is something which you can try because your peers are already doing it. And these are the few things which we observed based on your usage and everything, which we see would really benefit you in terms of achieving your XYZ goal which you have. Uh,
Got it.
so spending a lot of time and looking into what they are actually doing is the metric for driving adoption. Similarly, if you talk about the website traffic and everything, personalization makes a lot of sense, and I think you guys are doing a great work in terms of helping businesses. First of all, identify what are the things their visitors or their prospects are doing onto the website, and then finding that with that research which they have, like whatever
Correct.
that understanding that is, that either that understanding of their buyer personas or ideal customers and all that, and then showing that same picture which builds that connect. uh,
True. True. Yeah, basically, when we started even like custom fit, right, the very first thing what we wanted to tackle was how can we help you understanding what is happening on the website, right? So, like basically, the whole one set of the our time went into building the tool which helps you and like to give you a impulse like what to personalize, when to personalize, and whom to personalize, right? That's where we came up with all the whole tech of like journey explorer, event analyzer, firmographic analysis, hundreds of things over there that help you in the step two. Like basically we try to build as a complete cycle. Okay, first helping you understanding what is happening and then personalizing without any code change, and then studying how people are reacting in the different experiences, right? That's very important, right? Follow up with that thing, like one thing I want to ask you, like since actually we like I asked you the question related to the how you are going to understand the pulse. Now tell me one thing, like how are you going to set up a feedback loop with the customers? Okay, like can you like what are some best practices you use and apply?
yeah, so there are a couple of things around gathering feedback. One is that one level of feedback is what is the effort or time spent by a user in terms of adopting that feature. Then
Hmm.
second level of feedback is what is their overall experience in terms of interacting with the platform as a whole. And then third is that what is their probability of recommending this platform to somebody else, right? And now there are three different tools, or like I should say three different techniques which businesses use, including Airmeet. One is the
Hmm.
customer effort score, right? That
Hmm.
is an insight into what is the amount of effort it would require a customer or a user to basically to execute a particular action within the platform. right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing which we look into, right? Then another is the NPS score, the Net Promoter Score. That tells you about what is the overall probability, or of this user to kind of promote Airmeet or any platform to their friend or a colleague, right? So that gives you an understanding of how mature they are as your customers, whether they are the promoters or passives in terms of neutral to your product, or detractors. Detractors are people who are very high probability of either getting churned or like have had a bad experience with your platform. So they the chances of them talking negative about your product is higher, right? So you first need to understand the pulse of your customer in terms of where they fall, and what is the amount of effort it took them to maybe try a certain feature. And then once you have this level of understanding, then you'll have to need to personalize your reach out to each of these sets. Like people who are promoters, you want to use this as people you want to build your product with, right? So you need to get their feedback. You want to make them part of your early access program. These would also be the people who give you case studies. These would also be the
Mm-hmm.
people who will write you G2 crowd reviews, right? So
Correct,
you want to
correct.
basically have a very high touch engagement with these people. Then second is the passives, right? Now these people are neutral to your product.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure they're positively aligned with that experience. So they say if the
Exactly.
next cycle of the NPS, which happens say after 3 months, 6 months, whatever time frame you decide, you want to make sure that the next time NPS happens and they kind of come across that survey, they rate you in the promoter range. So what do you need to do
Mm-hmm.
for that? You need to ask them a very point blank question. What would it take you to rate them at 11 on a scale of 10 the next time they see the NPS, right? And they will
Correct.
tell you things about that, your product needs XYG feature, or maybe I had your everything is great, but there are certain things which I'm concerned about, right? So once you have an understanding of that, and mostly like one problem which we face with the passives is that they they ask for a certain feature request which you already have in our product. So that means discovery is a problem for you, right? So your product marketing teams also need to spend time in terms of addressing those things, which is coming
Mm.
out as the discoverability problem from the passives. Now the third
Makes
category is
sense.
the detractors, right? These are
Uh-huh.
people who can either talk negative or have had a bad experience, and they're definitely not promoting it, right?
Correct.
You need to basically have an approach towards first asking what is that bad experience which they have, which you don't know about, right? Second thing is once you know about that bad experience, what you can do about it. Third thing is
Mm-hmm.
chances are you get feedback about that, I raised a request of building something 6 months back or 4 months back, and I don't see that happening in your product right now. So what is the state of the affair there? So first
Mm-hmm.
thing is that you need to be empathetic towards what has been their experience, and then try to fix that. If that is something which cannot be fixed, then you need to first take a step back, apologize, and acknowledge that how you as a business can fix that from
Mm-hmm.
happening again. Second is that if there is something which they're asking which is not on their product roadmap, be honest to them, right?
Exactly. Okay.
Like back at VWO, when we used to run NPS surveys, we sometimes used to get feature requests which we wasn't planning to prioritize, right? And that time we were happy to recommend our competitors who have it,
Oh, okay.
because we know for a fact that if we keep them hanging with a false hope or a threat, chances of them becoming bitter is way higher than
Makes
than
sense.
than being honest with them. So being honest with your detractors is a very important thing,
Correct.
and not coming out as somebody who's just like holding them with false hopes.
No, that's a very good point. Right now, okay. Now, next thing is like, what's your take on community building? Like, is that part of your marketing mix? How do you design and validate the customer retention and loyalty programs?
Yeah, so community building is definitely a very essential part for two things. One is that it helps you get a lot of feedback in terms of your evangelists, your advocates, and people who are trying your product. And second is it also helps you shape your brand. You get a lot of feedback on how your customers or how your community perceives your brand, right? Because mostly people think brand is either a design sense of your website, right? Some people think design brand is how you basically communicate with your marketing and different certain features and all that. Honestly, brand is anything and everything which how your customer perceives you or your product, your company's personality, right? The reason Apple is very famous is because people don't see them as the makers of iPhone, or or like the AirPods and all of those things. They see them as the company who has a vision around building advanced, great technology for generations,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So they know
Correct.
even if they buys an iPhone, which is not major upgrade from the last version they have bought, that iPhone is still the best in class, and in the next 4 years, 3 years, when they plan to use it, they would get the best tech in the industry, right? So this is the kind of personality you need to showcase, and you need to first have an understanding of how whether your customers or prospects are having the same perception about you or not. If they don't have that perception, then I think that is the time and that is the feedback you get from your community in terms of how to work things out. Now, to create a community, you need to basically first of all understand where you're creating the community, right?
Correct.
Now, I was talking about the research part in the beginning, that you need to have a decent understanding of your buyer personas and your
Exactly.
ideal
Huh.
customers. You also need to have an understanding of where they're hanging out, right? And similarly, you need to have a decent understanding of where you're planning to start this community, right? Now, if you're planning to start a community on Facebook or any of the other platform like Instagram, or like Reddit or anywhere else, you need to first understand what kind of a niche this platform is in, right? What is the set of interest groups, or what is the size of the users it has, or what is the amount of competitors you have at these places, because all of these going to be your judge of, if you start a community on Facebook, chances are that you will be picking a pin out of the pack of hay, right? Because there's so much noise, there's so many competitors, or people, freelancers, all already doing what you're doing, already trying to add value in terms of things you are already talking about, right? So you have to first of all understand what is the market for that social media platform, and then effectively reject platforms which you don't want to build a community on, right? I think it's very difficult to pick a platform, but it's easier to reject certain platforms. And for rejecting those platforms, you have to, like, first of all understanding your buyer persona and see what kind of people hang out at these platforms. And when you see that there isn't a very big overlap, or there is a very high chance of competitions already being present at this platform, don't choose that platform. The reason
Makes sense.
for that is you would have very limited time, or like very limited resources to kind of invest in terms of building a community. If you're doing that at the wrong places, chances are that you won't see, like, the kind of growth or expectation which you have from building a community, right? So you maybe start a community, or you will only find 200 people there, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you see that the potential of that platform is to get to 10,000 people, right? Because those other 9,800 people would already be part of a lot many groups like you. So they will see that
Mm-hmm.
you might be an aggregator instead of being an evangelist or being the subject matter expert. So the second thing to talk about building community is that you need to position yourself as a subject matter expert,
Correct.
right? So these two things is very essential. So whether picking the right platform, being a subject matter expert, and the third thing is that you need to be consistent with what you are posting. Because
Exactly. Exactly.
I I don't want to be around people who just solves my problems say one day in a month, right? When
Correct.
I have growing pains every day, I am
Yeah.
looking for help every day, right? So similarly, I need people, and I want to surround myself with the right kind of guys or communities or forums where I see things moving for me, be it on the aspiration side of my career, be it on the day-to-day challenges which I face in my career, in my life, and all of those things. So whatever your niche is, don't just add value for your niche, but also what other problems these people have. So, like, as custom fit is in the martech space, you might be, as a product, so helping businesses to convert better, right? Like, convert more
Correct.
people from their
Correct.
side. But
Correct.
these could be product marketeers, these could be digital marketeers, these could be paid marketeers, right? And there are other problems in their life as well, like
Correct. Correct.
attribution is a problem, right? You
Exactly.
then have an understanding of how they drive SEO is a problem. So talk about those topics as well, because chances are, even if you solve all the problems in your space, these five people might be struggling with solving problem with your tool and a combined problem, right? So you need
Exactly.
to build
Exactly.
that sync as well. So these
Correct.
are things which are essential for building a community, and tips or like things which we guys are trying at Airmeet, and places I have worked at.
Nice, nice. Yeah, this was very, very informative, Utkarsh. Like even in our case, right? Like what you told is really right. Like basically, like we cater, like CustomFit caters to, growth size companies like Series A plus thing. So we get a lot of, inquiries from the startup background where the traffic itself is very less. Very first thing we guide them, we also, okay, let them to go to the tools or use the tools, or we refer them to the tools and even actually different guides helping them how you can drive the traffic onto the website. Like basically that's your first motto, right? So like then only the custom fit comes into picture. It helps you out. Like basically we come into the picture once a visitor lands onto the website. Right. Before that, you need to do so much of things to drive the traffic, right? So we just okay. Initially, we let them go because that's not like basically like for them the focus has to be on creating the demand over there, right? So but also we try to educate them, okay, like basically showcase them how you can do these things and all right? So that's one thing. And since actually you are from the the A/B testing optimization background, or experiment experience background, right? Like I want to ask you, like for example, which will help our viewers also, like how do you position your product, or how you are going to how you are planning to position your product on the website differently after creating your customer personas? Like basically, I see the Airmeet has different segment of the personas, right? Okay, depending upon the size of the company, region you are targeting, or it can be, you can define the ICP, or you can just talk about your ICP. But also, we want to like that how you are going to, plan to, position your website differently for different segments.
Yeah, so if we're talking about personas and ICPs, we kind of cater to a lot of different industries. Like if I talk about education industry, the education industry are doing a lot in terms of getting their students placed. Or on the other
Mm-hmm.
side, they are doing a lot in terms of admitting new students to their college or university. Then similarly, if I talk about VCs and startups, they are either looking to venture as a sprout as a business and are looking for funding. So like venture capitalist groups are also like a good persona for it. Then there are association which are professional associations like the FICCI or the CII of the world, like commerce institutes and all of those things. So these are people who are actually working together amongst their peers and everything, and kind of shaping the entire industry from ground up, right? Similarly, retail, similarly SaaS businesses who are looking to launch products or have like a virtual HQ kind of a place for their organization to kind of operate remotely. Right, so there are different personas and different ICPs for Airmeet. How we are
Mm-hmm.
currently catering is that we have uh, dedicated pages and dedicated real estate on the website to basically talk about these use case and talk about what are the innovations or what are the you know uh, how different companies from their industry are already using Airmeet as their go-to platform for solving their industry problems, right? The ones which I talked about. So that is one thing. So how we are kind of personalizing that, currently we use a very basic way of personalizing things, which is like their IP country, right? So
Mm-hmm.
based on which region they're coming from, we showcase them those customers. We showcase them use cases which say Indian, SaaS companies are trying to do with Airmeet events, or
Mm-hmm.
what European customers, European colleges are trying to do with their career fairs and all of those things. So
Mm-hmm.
currently, it's a very simple level of personalization and simple level of segregation onto the website experience. Definitely, there are more we can do. Like as I was talking about the research where Clearbit built with all these platforms kind of enrich uh,
Correct.
the entire space. So we also use this platform called VW. What it does is that it helps us run experiments on a specific group,
Correct.
and that group could be a niche. Those group could be industries, or could be the region they're coming from and all that. And this gives us decent amount of insights into what this target group or segment is looking for onto the website, right? So say if somebody is coming and we can basically enrich leads from we can enrich the experience from Clearbit and integrate it with VW, and then run an experiment for people who are coming from the education space or
Mm-hmm.
coming from United States, right? Or like a particular region. And then based on their experience of Airmeet or everything, if they are say not taking of certain actions, we run a survey asking those people that if you don't take an action today, then what would be the reason behind it? Or what is that one thing you're looking for on the page which you're not able to find? Like these are few things which gives us qualitative feedback in terms of how we should position ourselves in front of these audience, right? Second thing is
Correct.
we do a lot of JDBT, means jobs to be done framework based interviews with people coming from these industries. So if they
Okay,
say we
okay.
have certain customers from the education industry, we have certain customers coming from the SaaS background, all that, we do these interviews, and these are like structured interviews, which not talks about, which does not talk about aspirational questions. It talks about questions or things which they have done in the past.
Got it.
Right, just
Okay.
to give you an example, I won't ask you that have you recommended Airmeet to a friend or a colleague, or what are the things, how do you see us as a platform, all that. We'll ask you a very point blank question. When was the last time you talked about Airmeet in your conversation to a friend or a colleague? Right. Narrate us the conversation. Right. So that person would have to tell us about what that person told. It could be a friend, it could be his own manager, it could be somebody who's a colleague, right? And that conversation could go like that, hey, we were talking about doing an event, and this is what we plan to do. Or this conversation could be like, I was at a cafe, and a friend told me that I am also looking to start my own community. Then I told him that hey, I am currently using Airmeet, and you should also use it. Then the
Got
immediate
it.
second
Okay.
question is that how do you narrate or basically talk about Airmeet's position to a friend, right? So that means that gives us an understanding of how they think about you, whether they think of you as a meetup platform, or whether they think of you as a comprehensive virtual conference platform, right? Or whether they see you as a platform which has a great networking lounge and all of that thing. So that ways you get a flavor of what are your USPs as a product, how your marketing is getting perceived by the people who are actually using your platform, right? And then what are the things or keywords or nomenclature they use while communicating with their peers, and how do they understand, right? So we need to use all of that in our positioning as well.
Got
We
it.
need to use
True.
the same keywords, terminologies, and everything in terms of how they're narrating our product to us, and then we have to take that insight and then use it in our
The
position.
same thing. Got it. Got it. Makes sense. Makes sense. Good. And since you're from this AB industry, right? Basically, you work for VW and all. Like we are towards the experience side when they see the custom fit. What do you think, or how do you see, the difference between experiment versus experience? Like from your angle, like basically people think that personalization is adding the first name, last name, or company name, all those things. But that thing, it can be so much deep, right? It can totally change the entire the look, basically entire the way you're trying to communicate, or the entire pitch of the website, as if you can make your website custom made, or you make your customers feel that, hey, this is the platform custom made exactly for the use cases which I'm looking at, right? So how do you like, just I want to understand from your angle, like how do you think the A/B testing versus the, or say experiment versus the experience thing, how the world is changing?
I don't think there's a need for saying versus, because both these things are complementary, right? They
Hmm,
go
hmm,
hand in hand. Like if I talk about conversion optimization, there are three pillars to it. One is
hmm.
that you do a lot of research in terms of behavioral side of things, of how user is
Correct.
behaving onto your website. Those are basically moments for you to understand what are, they say, the friction points of your website experience. What are the places where your navigation is going wrong? What are the things which are barriers for your visitors or customers in terms of taking an action, right? You
Correct.
get that understanding, and you write an hypothesis.
Correct.
Hypothesis is anything which is your assumption based on the things which you have already seen, which your visitors are doing, right? Once you have an hypothesis, you kind of test it out through A/B testing, through split testing, and all of those things.
Correct. Correct.
And once you have an understanding of what works and what not works, personalization is that one thing which basically doubles or triples your efforts, right? So once you have like a decent understanding of what is working, now
Correct.
you know how that insight plays out when you say move the needle slightly a bit, like
Correct.
say if you
Correct.
were first talking about anybody onto the website. Then you start going niche into one industry. Then you started going niche into one kind of persona. Then you start going
Correct.
niche into one side of the region and everything. And now when you're collecting your research based on these segments, you're running experiments as a whole or based on these segments, and that's the time when you use platform like CustomFit or use the personalization angle to. So if you improved your conversion rate say by 5% by doing that hypothesis thing and then running it as a test, by personalization you take that 5 to 15, right?
Correct.
Because now you've understood that what works for that particular niche, and it's important to showcase them that experience ongoingly. And these things need all these three things: the research, the testing, and the experience. The personalization part goes hand in hand because it's a continuation process. It's a continuous process,
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Because you don't stop at building one experience and then personalizing it for one
Hmm.
set of
Hmm.
customers. Because your customers coming onto the platform try different new use cases. Similarly, your experience side of things should also be evolving or transforming based on what new learnings you're having or getting or
Correct. Correct.
receiving through your research. So that's how I see the overall space of conversion optimization. I don't think there's a testing versus personalization debate here because these
Exactly.
both the things do
Exactly. Huh.
happen.
No, that's very well. I mean, very good, Utkarsh. Like you put it into a very nice way, and because it's a kind of complementing each other, right? They are not competing. That's exactly what I wanted to communicate through this channel. Like it's a both goes hand in hand. Okay, you need to get that hypothesis correct, and then okay, start executing that thing. Right. Cool. And just a couple of questions. Okay, I have related to your outbound thing. Like, just I want to ask you one thing, okay? Are you aim for paid or organic? Which one is your favorite?
So honestly, I'm for revenue. Any channel
Perfect. Okay.
which helps me solve my immediate pain point, be it paid marketing or organic, is good
Mm-hmm.
enough. The problem with organic is that it takes a lot of time to get paid,
Mm-hmm.
right? But organic is something which holds your business when every other channel is not delivering, right? Like say if there is a seasonality in your business, right? Like say if you are if you are a platform which hosts say concerts or things like that. Now, or you're a platform which sells tickets for a concert. Now, in this time, nobody is attending concerts, but people are attending events on virtual platforms. But because
Correct.
this is not happening as an exclusive event, you might not get the returns as expected. Similarly, say if you're a restaurant business in a Middle Eastern country, right? Then Ramadan is the time when chances are that you won't see a lot of business coming in, right? So if there is a
Mm-hmm.
seasonality in your business, organic is something which keeps or hosts
Getting you. Correct. Correct.
pulls all the right things or pulls the make sure that you get decent amount of lead coming from at least one channel and all of those things. Paid marketing and other things are definitely important in the initial days because it kind of creates a level playing field with you and your competitors, right? Like that there could be certain competitors in your industry which are like sharks, right? But if you have a sizable problem statement and you're solving it really well, paid marketing kind of put them up, gives you level playing field in terms of showcasing your brand, your product in terms of what problem you're solving to everybody who's like who's the target audience. So
Makes sense, man.
it
Makes sense.
depends
Yeah.
on what kind of a problem you're trying to solve, and then you decide whether paid or organic. I'm a fan for conversion rates and revenue, so whatever gives me that mix as early as possible, I'm up for that.
Perfect. Perfect. Can you please share me one most successful campaign which you handled so far? At the same time, also one campaign, okay, which failed. Like basically we want to learn from both of your experience.
Yeah, if I talk about great campaigns, like so when I was at VWO, and I mean I was also taking up co-marketing. Co-marketing
Mm-hmm.
is collaborative marketing with other companies or partners or influencers
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
who has the same target audience as you, right? So,
Okay.
say
Okay.
if VW was a MarTech product, I was also collaborating with companies like HubSpot, GetResponse, AdRoll, and all of that, who
Mm-hmm.
also markets to marketeers or PM folks and like personas like that, but does not have a conflicting product as us, right? So we can co-promote each other's services, we can co-promote each other's products, right? So there we created an ebook with HubSpot
Oh,
where
is it?
we
Okay.
showcases a 8-week CRO planner. So basically telling any business about how they should think about conversion optimization, what should they do in the first 8 weeks, right? Like starting from
Okay.
understanding the quantitative side of things in terms of getting into their Google Analytics dashboard, understanding what is the bounce, what is the overall traffic, and all of those things. Then based on that, using simple platforms like VW, Hotjar, or any
Correct.
of the
Correct.
free
Correct.
platforms, then have an understanding of how visitors are behaving. Once you have that,
Got
how
it.
to write your first hypothesis, right?
Got it.
To
Got it.
start to all the way till the 8th week of starting your first test, and then how to evaluate results. Because the problem with running experiments is you run it, and because your hypothesis could be here and there, and you might not get a win, right? And
Correct.
win
Correct.
means an uplift in conversion rate.
Correct.
And because
Exactly. Huh.
7 out of 10 experiments fail, right? Chances of getting hit by a failure and not trying that again is way higher than seeing returns or success out of conversion rate optimization. So how do you interpret your report? How do you make sure that even your report tells you about certain opportunities which you can try and
Hmm.
iterate on? Right. So those were like the first 8 weeks of planning your conversion rate optimization. If anybody is still interested, VW still has that ebook on their website. It's free
Oh,
and
is it?
everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did that with HubSpot,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
in the first month itself, we got 3,000 downloads for it,
Oh, okay.
and somewhere around 400 to 450 leads. Leads means demo request coming for VW
Perfect.
around
Okay.
this. Now there were a couple of things which I think which worked really well was that because we were the subject matter experts of conversion optimization and
Correct. Correct.
and how you should go about it, we kind of had the authority to talk about.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
second thing is
Hmm.
because we partnered with a brand like HubSpot, we nailed distribution and network
Correct.
in
Correct. They
terms of
have this huge distribution network
exactly.
already
So
existing.
we kind of nailed down
Right.
on the distribution part.
Correct.
And
Correct.
third
Correct.
part was we were the piece was a very high quality piece and it was very hands on. Like it
Hmm.
has
Hmm.
actionable things to do in week 1, week 2, week 3, and those weeks were divided into like a calendar. Like what will you do on Monday? What will you do on Tuesday? What will you do on Thursday? And things like that. So there, every slide of that ebook was an action or a task for this person. So that ways,
Hmm.
people who were reading that committed to the content, right?
Come on. Yeah.
And
Correct.
that
Correct.
led to a viral loop of people sharing it with their peers, people sharing it with their
Uh,
friends, right? So those were
correct.
like few
Correct.
learnings around marketing, anything which you create. Like have like position yourself as subject matter expert, build a
Correct.
very high
Correct.
value content. Second is that nail down on your distribution, and that should come from, like I was talking about the community building part, like which are the right places you want to. You don't
Hmm.
want to do it
Hmm.
at like all the places which you know. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
don't go viral with this one ebook on paid on Facebook on and everywhere. It's good to do that,
Correct.
but you have like might have like a limited team or resources or a
Hmm. Hmm.
timeline to do
Hmm.
all of this thing. So invest in places and do a really great job at it. Like have a plan around it. And third is because make it actionable and add a sense of virality to that content. Give proper CTAs saying like share it with a friend. Give proper CTAs in terms of committing to what you're writing. Have like an understanding of taking an action what you're reading and what is the insight coming out of it. Because once you kind of start building a repo through your content in terms of say if I am doing this session with you and ultimately somebody goes and downloads this ebook, right? This is a virality loop of
Correct.
the
Correct.
right? And you want to tap on that. You want to have
Correct.
those
Correct.
things within the content, right? So this is
Hmm.
this is one of the like very successful campaigns we did at VW. If I talk about failures, there are multiple things
Hmm.
why a campaign fails,
Exactly. Huh.
and I think this has to do a lot with planning and timing of
Mm-hmm.
how much you have in terms of planning things out. We have done that with a lot of product launches, right? Because while for startups, it's a great impression to kind of build or add new features every week, right? Marketers have a very hard time in terms of communicating that to the audience, to taking it out in the market, to driving adoption for that and all that. So that has happened quite a few times where say there has been times when we are launching too many features in the same month or in a couple of weeks. That has been the time when we haven't spent a lot of thought in terms of how do we plan to position this, or how we plan to measure distribution, measure adoption, and all of those things. Even though we have some idea in terms of in the past launches we have done, but like sometimes because of lack of planning, say if there is a checklist of how you launch products, right? Like you want to do a PR, you want to do in-app notification, you want to do send an email campaign, add it to newsletter and all of that. But if you have only 1 week to plan, I don't think you would be able to tap onto things which will
Correct. You
really
can't
work
justify
for
it
you.
out.
You'll
Exactly.
pick your top three or something like that, right? So
Yeah.
that's when planning fails, and that's when when you don't come out as like get the amount of return you expect out of the campaign. So yeah, those are like
Mm-hmm.
examples of learnings and failures from
Make,
campaigns in marketing.
Makes sense. And how do you ensure the ROI on your marketing campaigns is optimal? Like what kind of the guidelines you follow?
I think it's very important when you're kind of understanding what kind of a return of investment you want on any campaign or exercises. You need to have very clear goals and objectives, right?
Mm,
And goals and objectives comes from answering the hows and the whys and the whats of the world in terms of what is that one metric I'm looking to optimize by this exercise which I'm doing, right? What kind of a value which people would get by reading this content piece, or when I run this campaign, or what kind of expectation I have in terms of when I would call this campaign a success, right? What are my ways of measuring effectiveness? Like how do I
mm,
attributing
mm,
to different channels? Like how am I measuring performance of each and every activity I'm doing and all of that. So when I have a solid plan in place around answering the what, whys, and hows of, or around a particular marketing campaign, or in terms of measuring success or an objective, that is when I confidently say that I am getting some ROI, right? Now,
mm,
a lot of people, and for a lot of businesses, even including Airmeet, when we do big product launches, we always attach a dollar value to it, right?
mm, mm,
Meaning that if, say, ticketing experience is one new product feature which we launched, and
mm,
there is already a market of ticketing
mm.
outside, Airmeet. Like there could be a lot
Correct.
of companies who sell
Yeah.
tickets or
Correct.
help
So,
businesses sell tickets on top of their events.
mm.
So there should be a dollar value, or there should be at least some pie of the market we should be taking, or
Mm.
you're owning
Grabbing it out.
once
Yeah.
this product is out, right?
Mm.
Second thing is, uh, what is going to be the overall adoption for this particular feature in our existing customer base, right? Because
Mm.
that's a good measure of what kind of a dollar value we should have in if the ticketing market is say $1 billion market, then what kind of a pie we should be gunning at, say, at the end of the year or at the end of the quarter, or all of those things, right? So having a decent understanding of what is going to be the adoption rate of your existing customers, and then you also break down the existing customer into three categories, which are people who are highly engaged, meaning that this part of the feature, there are a lot of people who are requesting it repeatedly, and they're doing a lot of events, but they're not using Airmeet ticketing, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
what will this push would do them? Ideally, they should convert as people who are using Airmeet ticketing, right?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Second is people who are moderately engaged, meaning this feature is a good upgrade for them, but they're not maybe doing a lot of events on Airmeet right now, right? Now then this feature becomes a lucrative play in an entire platform offering, that hey, now you can also sell tickets, so you
Mm.
don't have
Mm.
to manage multiple platforms
Correct. Correct.
to
Exactly.
with along with your event, right? So that is another positioning which we have to draft, and then plan it, and then assign a certain adoption rate to
Great to
this
that.
segment.
Correct.
Then the
Correct.
third
Correct.
segment is disengaged people. People who
Uh-huh.
tried Airmeet once and did not come back, or
Uh-huh.
people
Uh-huh.
who tried Airmeet. or churned in a few months and all that. Now this for this set, your update might not make sense because they're not using the platform. So you need to first
Mm-hmm.
educate them and get them back on the value of your positioning and the
Correct.
platform, and then also tell them that now you can also sell it, right? So
Makes
then
sense, man.
there,
Yeah.
this thing becomes secondary. The new product becomes secondary, and the major value proposition of your overall
Get
product
them. Correct.
becomes primary,
Perfect.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Once
Makes
you
sense.
have that in place, you can assign a dollar value, which could be your ROI metric or your success metric. Then, based on these segments, you can define on an adoption rate that would become your
Mm-hmm.
success metric. And if you have that understanding and you also club it with one layer of feedback, right? Because you also
Mm-hmm.
want to keep improving as a product, right?
Correct. Correct.
So, third can or our secondary ROI is that I will get a lot of feedback, which I will use to improve this feature, which will help me to
Mm-hmm.
improve my pie in the revenue market, right? Like, which will help me in terms of getting maybe expanding my existing customers in terms of dollar value. So like this is how you should think about ROI, and you should have clear success criteria, expectation, and goals around how you plan to measure it.
That's really nice, Utkarsh. Like basically, you just not scratch the surface. You went, a mile deeper.
Yeah.
That's good. According to you, what is the biggest challenge, the marketers from 2021 era facing? I mean, like for example, what I also want to include is how this pandemic affected the thinking of the marketers, or has it increased their challenges, or it helped them out? Like, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so I will. I won't be able to talk on behalf of all marketers, but I can talk about things which I am currently observing.
Hmm.
One thing I'm currently observing is that the attention span of people is dropping like anything, right? Like people initially there was this term coined that people have a goldfish memory,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
goldfish has a memory of 4 to 5 seconds, right?
Correct. Correct.
So if you
Correct.
don't get them in the first 4 to 5 seconds, I mean chances are that it will be a miss for you. Another thing which I'm currently facing is that there's a mutual outrage towards coming out as salesy, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
outbound efforts are taking a hit, right?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
if you
Correct.
send a cold email campaign, chances are people like won't pay much attention because
Correct.
there are
Correct.
few things which you need before sending an cold
Correct.
outreach, right?
Correct. Correct.
So that is another thing that outbound is not working for a lot of people. Now, third thing which is happening, and you will also see a transformation in the handheld phones and or in the all the other technology we use to basically communicate is that these businesses like Apple, Samsung, OnePlus, and all of that are spending a lot of their efforts on the innovation of how they can create Zen mode for their users, right? That how they can keep them
Correct.
away from notifications, how they can reduce stress, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
that just means lesser opportunity for marketeers to showcase their product in front of them, right? Like so, chances are in the
Hmm.
future we as marketers also would have to be creative about how we are being to the point, being honest, and builds that connect with people, which has like a very small attention span, and chances are they put their phones on the Zen mode or like do not disturb mode after 7 o'clock, right?
Correct.
So how do we solve this for this problem is
Correct.
something which
Correct.
I feel that marketers would soon gonna start chasing, because like if I talk about myself, I personally put my phone on do not disturb, or I do not use social media for more than 30 minutes,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that ways those are like very little time for my for people to kind of reach out to me. Right.
Good. Good.
I
Good.
might be available over the weekends, and then these are opportunity areas which marketers would need to research about. That what are
Hmm.
those places which I do on the weekends? Like what are those
Correct.
places where I
Correct.
hang out on the weekends? Then
Correct.
what kind of notification or emails I invite in my inbox, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So you would have to make best use of that. So the chances are like people are unsubscribing a lot from the marketing messaging, right? But there's a de facto way of marketing to them, which are like your product emails, right?
Correct.
So you need to be very creative in not coming out as a marketing
SLC.
piece in your
Correct.
product
Correct.
email, but you're also sending or delivering that message which you wanted, right? So
Makes
these are
sense.
going to be
Yeah.
huge battles which we'll see marketing side.
True, true, true. True, true. Because even actually, if you see the other thing also, right, there are a lot of data versus happening. The trends that are troubling the marketers, such as browser restriction, cookieless thing, identity resolution, user consent, so on, right? So, like, what do you think? Okay, what is that one important data point which you can't afford to lose?
I think in this world of high privacy and everything, I think consent is one thing which you should be capturing really well,
Correct.
because honestly, it does not help to market to people who don't want your content,
Exactly,
who
exactly.
don't want to interact with your brand, because first of all, there are so many forums right now which basically empowers them to talk about their experience, right? And they will shut you down even before you start, right?
Correct,
So,
correct, true.
so you need to first, and second thing is that even though you market to those people, they will only add to their frustration, right?
Correct,
So even if they don't publicly call you out, if I know about a brand which has, like you must have like received a lot of emails and everything, phone calls from Policy Bazaar, Bank Bazaar, and all that, right? Right? Even though they're great platforms to give you the
correct.
right deals, they spam you like hell,
Exactly,
right? And
exactly,
that's why
exactly.
they are, gathering a lot of negative reputation around how their market. Similarly, White Hat Junior was scrutinized a lot for their deceiving ads
Marketing
and
campaign.
everything.
Correct, correct,
Exactly.
correct.
So you don't want to be at that spot, right? So
Mm-hmm.
capture content and only market to folks who subscribe to your content. And I think there is an
Makes sense.
easier way to make sure that people subscribe to your content.
Yeah, it's cleaner way, and basically,
Yeah.
like, and the two also you are reaching out to the people who are ready to receive your message, right? That's
Yeah.
a great thing.
And I
Tell me
think
one thing. Huh.
yeah,
Sorry,
if
go
you're
ahead,
a
Utkarsh.
subject matter expert, I think you don't have to worry a lot about marketing a lot, because once you start building a community, once people start seeing that your methods, the way you're helping them with framework, the way you're helping them to think,
Mm-hmm.
and not just recommending tools or making affiliate money or whatever that thing is, they will come to you. They'll naturally get attracted to you. Like there is a
Makes sense.
reason that why say Dave Gahart, uh, Brian Macy, Pep Laya, these people have like an audience because they're
Correct,
not selling,
correct,
they're,
correct.
they're educating.
Exactly, exactly. That's right word. Oh man, really good. And tell me one thing, okay? Who is your mentor in marketing? Like the one person whom you look up to when you are in deep trouble or you need, good advice when when the things are not working as planned. Like who is that one guy or couple of like if you want to name more than one, that's also fine.
Yeah, so
If you want to give a shout out,
yeah,
this is the
so
time.
I confide a lot in my team,
Hmm.
right? And that's one thing which I work really hard about. Like I try to build a rapport with my team, right? My manager, Mr. Madhu Nair, like he's one another person who I look forward to when maybe when I run into a trouble, because I think one thing is that you need to spend a lot of time in terms of delivering value inside your team. You
Hmm.
basically expect that once you're fall into trouble, there is somebody to go to, right? And you don't do this for that exchange. You
Hmm.
do it
Hmm.
because that's how you collectively win as a team,
Correct, man. That's
right?
true.
So that's one thing. If I talk about the people in the industry, I already spoke about Dave Gahart, where I get my marketing or like product marketing wisdom from. Then Brian Macy, Pep Laya are like the right people to get insights on conversion optimization. Then I'm also reading content on how revenue operation side of things kind of improve. So profit well, uh, you know, Jason Campbell is another
Yeah,
guy
yeah, yeah.
who,
Yeah, you want to follow him.
yeah, yeah. So he's another guy who talks like great sense about conversion through things which are not sales and marketing, right?
Correct.
Things which
Makes
are
sense.
outside, which requires minimal effort. Like just
Hmm.
solving your dunning problem can give you a 2%, 3% revenue boost, and this is like you're spending zero money for that,
Correct,
right? You're
correct.
just
True, true.
writing 5, 6 email campaigns, and that's a revenue jump you're seeing.
Correct,
Similarly,
correct.
content coming from ChargeBee, Zora, like these are platforms I follow. Appcues is another platform, and they're like Eric Keaton is the VP of marketing there who puts like great content. Then there's West Bush who like writes a lot of product-led growth content. So yeah, these are the people who I follow in terms of getting my
True.
market.
Nice, nice. Even actually, I follow the like basically ChargeBee is our customer. Like their content is really great. Like something which we like stumble on like as soon as actually there is anything new released and very well organized, very cleanly. Even their UX thing. Even if they release a blog, everything the way they organize the entire content is something okay noteworthy. That it's definitely we take a lot of inputs from those kind of the blogs which now we have started on our blog journey. So some of the things which are
Yeah,
getting
those
from
are
their
actually
input.
like the right places to look at for
Correct,
recommendations.
correct,
So
true,
like
true.
they are like the Cadillacs of the industry. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And finally, Utkarsh, like one advice which you want to give, for one advice from your side for an entry-level marketer for a successful career.
Yeah, if I talk about people who are starting their career, I think there could be a lot of advice about them that I think one thing they could which is really in their control is and that would also help in their career is that marketing as a landscape is continuously evolving, right?
Hmm, hmm.
So you need to spend time in educating yourself, right? So even like I've been in the SaaS industry for over 7 years, and I still dedicate 1 hour a day or 30 minutes a day in terms of reading about either a book on business or reading about the marketing landscape, reading about how you can work and use a certain framework as a tool. And when I say tool, not meaning platforms, but also meaning like the thinking process of how you should think
Exactly.
about
Okay.
solving a problem,
Uh-huh.
right? You should, as an early marketer, you should spend a lot of time in terms of dedicating some time either throughout your day or in your week, right? Reading about marketing. Now, these places could be blogs from for all the people which we have discussed, right? This could be an ebook or could be audiobooks on Audible, uh, or these could be podcasts, right? Like there are a lot of people who are doing podcasts, and I personally like listen to Master of Scale by
Sure.
Reid Hoffman. I listen to DGMD podcast. I also listen to Everyone Hates Marketer, right? And like these are like great podcasts which really helps you in terms of building that thinking part.
Hmm, hmm,
Because
hmm.
uh, even though there are certain frameworks and methodologies you will find in terms of solving a particular problem, you won't be able to solve all the problems with one framework, right?
Exactly, exactly,
It's
exactly.
your ability to think and then
Think.
understand which
Correct,
makes you a generalist,
correct,
right?
correct,
Right.
correct.
And I think as a marketer in the early days, you need to spend time to become a generalist, because then is the right time you can decide that which is that one thing or two things you want to go deep into,
Correct, correct.
right?
Makes sense.
So
And even actually, I go through these podcasts like, Master of Scales, SaaS breakthroughs. Like basically, my daily 1 hour routine is when I jog. So that's one thing. Okay, basically, I will be with myself. Okay, with the partner, nothing around me. Okay, just my focus to run and then listen to that thing. That's a kind of hobby what I developed since last 1 year, not one and a half year, right? So that's really helping me. Like basically there you are trying to interact with bunch of the different folks, and also as soon as I listen that thing, I will create myself a write up that hey, these are all the things which I learned from this thing. And I also try to reach out to the host and the guest in that podcast and see, okay, hey, this is what actually I learned from this thing. So anything, okay, which you can suggest us, okay, like that also tries to create that the relationship like with the fellow marketers. Okay, it's not just what they told on that thing. Can any point of the time when you see there is a confusion or okay, you need certain inputs, you can direct, you have those, the whole umbrella of the fellow marketers who can help you out. And and I am sure that okay, the people around us, right? So they are definitely want to help. It's a kind of they are also in the same boat some point of the time in their career. So they don't hesitate. Like basically, you should not hesitate to ask them, and they will also like more than generous enough to accept your request, and they can definitely help you.
exactly. It needs to be a thriving network who
Hmm.
helps each other to go together.
Correct, correct.
That's the crux of it.
True, true. Thanks, Utkarsh. This is really great show. Like, I don't know when, like, Ashwini just informed me that we just passed 1 hour. This is the first time, okay, our shows were almost like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Like, we just Like I just saw the time when Ashwini told me. Thanks. It's a lot of goodies, a lot of information our viewers can get. A
Yes,
lot of
Utkarsh.
learnings from they can get it
Lot,
from this thing.
lots of learning. Even we are into that phase, and we need to take lessons from you that you actually followed into your life.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's mostly comes from reading and experiencing things. Like, if you have that intuitive thing about, how to go about a problem, I think the first mistake which I see a lot of people do is that they, you know, say that they are a marketers, or, they kind of assign them a personality which is like singular, right?
Correct.
You need to be more like problem solvers, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Irrespective of whether it's a paid marketing problem, it's a business, it's a revenue operations problem, it's a product marketing problem. You should need a understanding and a thinking or a framework to solve any problem. And when I say
Exactly.
any problem,
Correct.
is all any business problem, right?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think founders are doing that brilliantly because they kind of wear a lot of different hats, and they are also like the people who are also solving marketing problems, sales problems, product problems, and all of that in their own way, right? But they know that they have like a thinking ability and that framework to go about it. So I think that is one thing which needs to be developed, and that with that you can like pretty much solve any problem.
True, true,
Uh,
man. That's because even when we hire the people, right, not just the marketing department, whether it's a back end, front end, like even the customer success and all, one thing what we, check the most important things are, do they have these problem solving ability? The logic they have, and then comes actually the knowledge, expertise, those things. Okay, if you don't have that in your bloodstream, right, you can't you can't make them, you can't feed them, or you can't keep on mentoring them, right? So it's, they should know, just throw the problem at them, they should try to score the way they can go and, okay, solve the thing, right? So
Yeah,
that's
I came across a post recently, right? And this was one interview question which was posted, and this just to judge this thing, right? How you can judge this in an interview. So the person asked that, ask a candidate two part of the same question, which is first, tell me how does my company make money, and how do you see us improving in terms of our pricing model in the next 2 years to come, right? So that basically puts a person in a spot in terms of first of all understanding what is the problem, like how we are
correct,
making
correct.
money, and how do we see ourselves evolving as a business in terms of how we plan to make money in the future. So that person should be smart enough to first of all kind find loopholes in terms of what is wrong with our current pricing. For that, that person needs to understand our pricing or how we make money as a business, and then recommend ideas. So this is like the perfect like an example to ask or a question to ask in terms of while hiring candidates, that to have an
No,
understanding of
that
how they
that's great.
solve a problem. So like that's
Correct,
something
correct.
which I was like mind blown while reading. So
No,
yeah.
that's true. Like even in the interviews which I take, right, what I do is I pause the interview for 15 minutes. Okay. In that thing, I ask them, okay, just go to our website. Okay. You just go and you tell me what is that, okay, we are trying to, or like what is that, okay, custom is all about. Okay. What kind of the problem we are solving, so whom we are trying to target and all those things. And which in that live meeting, like basically live interview, we pause it for 15-20 minutes, and then we just make them to go around, because it's like, so that's a real time experience. Okay, once they come back, we'll able to judge within that 15 minutes of the time how deep they went. Okay, like what are all things which they studied, okay, what they did, right? So that gives us a lot of information for me to understand what, how quick the fellow was, how deep the fellow was, or how, like what kind of the like ability of the thinking, okay, where he can go and check it and all that. That's true, that's true.
That's
Cool.
great way to judge that.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Utkarsh. This is again great talking to you.
Yeah,
And
likewise.
I am, yeah, like I am sure that, okay, our viewers will get a lot of learning from this thing.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ashwin.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Ashwin.
so much, Utkarsh.
All right. Bye.
Let
Bye.
me just stop the video.